Good evening, Chicago. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host, Linal Harris, Chicago's very own life coach, right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. And as always, Inspirational Perspective on your radio is all about murdering mediocrity and living the best life possible. And so like I ask you every weekend, are you living the best life possible? Well, check this out. I got an amazing topic for you guys this evening. The topic tonight is Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, and tonight we'll be honoring the life of the late Muhammad Ali. Ali inspired the world, and this is your chance to share how he inspired you. If you want to do that, give us a phone call, 773-591-1690. But before we do that, let's hear from Ali himself. How about?
For this fight, I've wrestled with alligators. I've tussled with the whale. I done handcuffed lightning and put thunder in jail. You know I'm bad. I have murdered a rock. I injured a stone. And I hospitalized a brick. I'm so bad I make medicine sick. I'm so fast, man, I can run through a hurricane and don't get wet. When George Foreman meets me, he'll pay his debt. I can drown a drink of water and kill a dead tree. Wait till you see Muhammad Ali.
That's Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, everybody. And let me say this. You know, somebody on Periscope just said, hey, man, you know, okay, we just had the funeral. Why don't you move on? Let me tell you why I can't move on past Muhammad Ali. Number one, I haven't had an opportunity to pay homage. So number one, I haven't had an opportunity to pay homage. Number two, Muhammad Ali was the greatest. And when somebody is the greatest, well, you know what? You're going to remember them. You're going to talk about them for a long period of time. I believe that he deserves the respect that's been given him. I believe that he deserves all of the honor that's been given him. And tonight I just wanted to take an opportunity to do that for myself, because one of the things I've shared with you guys on the show is that I have virtual mentors. And so what is a virtual mentor? A virtual mentor is someone who you may not have contact with, but you learn from them. You know, you might even ask yourself, what would Muhammad Ali do in this situation, right? And so that's why I continually, say since he passed away, he deserves the respect from all of us because of who he was and for what he represented. And I'd love to hear from you guys tonight. You know, the phone number is 773-591-1690. But how did Ali inspire you? And I know one of the ways that he inspired me was very early on in his career, before he fought Sonny Liston. He said, I am the greatest. And I shared this before, and it's interesting because Maya Angelou, she passed away about 2 years ago this time. I think 2 years, maybe 2 weeks. We're about 2 weeks past the anniversary of her death. And when she passed away, one of the things that I shared with you guys was something that I learned from her, which is the power of words. The power of words. And one of the things that Maya Angelou said often when she would speak is how her grandmother would braid her hair and tell her that one day you will speak to the dignitaries of the world. One day your words will matter to people all across the globe. All across the globe. And I'm bringing Maya Angelou up because we call Muhammad Ali the greatest of all time because he called himself the greatest of all time first. Nobody said it before he did. And as you really begin to review his life, again, like I said, before he even passed away, he is someone whose life I have studied. And before he passed away, one of the things I would do, I would go back and I would listen to the audio and look at the video of him before his fights. And, they would talk about him. Oh, he didn't hit hard. He wasn't big enough. And Muhammad didn't care. And what I got from that very personally is it doesn't matter what other people think about you. What matters most is what you think about yourself. Do you truly believe? Do you truly believe that you are great? Because if you believe that you're great and you're willing to say it as much as Muhammad Ali said it, then you will be great. And so, like I said, before anybody called him the greatest of all time, he called himself the greatest of all time. And he said it repeatedly, over and over and over again, until for the rest of us, he became the greatest of all time. All right, we got a phone call. Pete from here in South Shore. Pete, you're on the air. How you doing?
I'm all right. How about you?
I'm well.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'm pretty good.
Okay.
So, I just want to build on what you're saying. So, the power of words. See, every word has an etymology, right? So,
That's
you know
right.
unabridged,
Well,
you know unabridged dictionaries, right?
Can you explain for the listeners what etymology is? Just in case somebody didn't follow you.
Yes. Etymologically means truth. The origin of words is a mother's matrix.
Right.
The true meaning, not a connotative, corrupted meaning. So, so like when people call themselves things, they really on most of your show, you say, "What's your purpose?" So when people say every day that they're nothing, then they become nothing.
Absolutely, because our words have power.
Exactly. And like I say, people say, like I said, Muhammad Ali said, "I'm the greatest." He became
The greatest. Absolutely.
So, so even in you can connect it to anything, science, law, you may say sex, religion. Like I said, if people just study the words that they keep saying, and then they can actually change their lives. It's about all that. The spells they cast, because that's all they're doing every day, just spelling.
Man, I hope that everybody really understood what you just said. But if they didn't, thanks so much for the phone call, by the way. That was a wonderful addition to the show. And again, if any of you have anything you want to offer, please give me a phone call, 773-591-1690. But what Pete just said, that was really, really important. One, words matter. And then the other thing he said is, if you call yourself nothing, then you will be nothing. I had a workshop this morning talking to a Future Leadership Council group of women at the YWCA. And one of the things I told them is you have to start eliminating your internal negative self-talk. Because often we are our biggest enemies when it comes to what we say about ourselves in our heads. And Muhammad Ali, he said it out loud. He said it out loud so much that if he didn't believe it, eventually he had to believe it. But let me get back to what Pete shared there around, the power of words, and also how often, because of what we're saying to ourselves, we do so much damage. Like somebody can say, and I shared it this morning. Someone can say something negative to you. And that one negative statement doesn't have as much power as the replay that happens in your mind, where you're constantly mulling over what this person said. And one of the things that Pete said is people are casting spells all the time. So let me give you my perspective on this. And I think this goes in really nicely with the conversation about Muhammad Ali tonight. Because when you say people are casting spells all the time, this is how I explain it in my Purpose, Power, Possibility workshop, which, by the way, is next week If you're interested, you can go to www.murdermediocrity.com and register. But what I say in that workshop is this, that one of the things that we don't realize is how powerful we are. And because we don't understand our power, that when it comes to saying things, like saying words, we become very careless, we become very irresponsible. But for those of us who believe in God, regardless of how you believe in God, whether you're Muslim, Christian, whatever you want to call it, if you believe in the divine, then often what you believe is that we are made in the image of the divine. We also believe that we have a spirit, which is a piece of the divine. All right? So if the divine is a creator, if God is a creator, or whatever you call it, and you have a piece of him, that makes you a micro creator. And if you're a micro creator and he created the world with his words, then what do you think you're doing when you speak? And that's exactly what Maya Angelou said, and that's exactly what Muhammad Ali did. He spoke greatness into his life. And here's the thing. So what can we learn from that? What can we garner from that? I wrote a blog, and the title of the blog was, a lesson on belief from the life of Muhammad Ali. And if there's anybody who we could learn from in regards to belief, in regards to faith, I believe that this is a man whose life can teach us some critical lessons in regards to how we think, how we believe about ourselves. I mean, what if you went to work every Monday, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and said, I am the greatest? I mean, I'm looking at my producer right now. Now, what if you came in here every time talking about, man, I am the greatest producer of all time? I mean, he would end up that way. Am I right?
Man, I would be, I'm not sure what I would say, man.
Why not say that? Why not say that? Why not say you are the greatest producer of all time? Because otherwise, I mean, that's what you can become.
I mean, you're right. Having that positive thought process, if you want to be something, you got to think it to believe it. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing that you got to believe what you say and mean it.
Yep. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. One of the things I love about that is, Kadeem, you had a hard time saying that. And one of the things I teach in my workshop is often when we're saying something that means something, you'll encounter resistance. If you don't think that every time Muhammad Ali said that I'm the greatest of all time, he didn't feel some type of resistance, then you're sadly mistaken. You're sadly mistaken. And here's the other thing about greatness. Not everybody will agree with you. And even now, it's funny. The Periscope that I'm running right now is attracting different people. Some of them are saying some real nasty things because they don't like them. They don't like them. Greatness will attract critics. And so remember, whenever you want to do anything, you will always attract a critic. And one of the ways that you know you're doing the right things, that you're on the right path, is when people have something to say. If they don't like what you're doing, if they want to throw salt on you, if they want to spew hate, more than likely, you're doing the right thing. I had a conversation this week about how often haters help us more than we know. Haters help me know I'm on the right track. If you got something to say that's negative, I know I'm talking about the right thing. I know I'm doing the right thing. What Kanye say? I use hate as steam to power my dreams. Same thing here. So, again, Muhammad Ali was a man of controversy, largely because he believed in something. And whether you agree with him or not, you have to honor the man's faith. You have to honor the man's belief. And one of the comments on Periscope was, why honor a man that dodged the draft? Well, number one, I think that's interesting coming from those of us who have lived in a generation where, one, we don't even have a draft. All right, some of us haven't even been tried and tested to the point to know whether we're courageous enough to go to war. but we can talk about Muhammad Ali. So unless you've been to war, I don't even want to hear you talk about that, number one. But number two, the man had a belief. The man had a belief that, hey, why would I go to Vietnam when I don't have equal rights here? And I don't expect everybody to understand that. You know, the people who complain about it, I don't expect them to understand that. But for those of us who understand what it's like not to be privileged, not to have privilege, then, yeah, we get it. But I digress. Because what I really want to talk about tonight is the impact that Muhammad Ali had on me and that he had on my life. And if you have anything that you want to share, a story of inspiration, something that, you know, Muhammad Ali meant to you, by all means, give us a phone call, 773-591-1690. But one of the things I love about Muhammad Ali the most is how he beat the odds early on. I mean, think about this. Here he is, a young man, 22 years old, about to get into the ring with the heavyweight champion of the world at that time, Sonny Liston. The odds are 7-1 in Liston's favor. And when the media is talking to him, what he's saying is, y'all don't understand the whipping I'm about to put on this man. I mean, he believed in himself. When nobody else believed in himself, he believed in himself. And if there's nothing else that you get from this show tonight, I want you to walk away with how important self-confidence is, how important personal faith is, how important these particular characteristics are to who you intend to be in your life. Because let me tell you, if you don't believe that you can, then basically it breaks down to you can't. You know, I think it's the quote by Henry Ford. Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So here it is, Muhammad Ali, 22 years old, matched up against Sonny Liston. And Sonny's bigger than him, a more experienced boxer than him. And he's saying, hey, y'all got this wrong. I'm going to knock this man out. And then he wins the bout. Now, but here's the thing. Before he won the bout, he said, I am the greatest boxer of all time. So before he was ever a champion, he already declared it. Now let me break this down. Because, you know, you guys know I'm a life coach. And one of the things I do with clients on a regular basis is I work with them on what they want to achieve in their lives, what they want to see happen in their lives, who they intend to be for themselves in their lives. And one of the ways that we do that is I have them make powerful declarations. As a matter of fact, if you come to any of my workshops, you will not leave without making some type of declaration. And this is what a declaration is. A declaration is basically you speaking into possibility. Or you could say speaking into impossibility and saying that it is possible. I will do this. I will accomplish this. And so that's basically what a declaration is. So when you think about it, basically Muhammad Ali, before he ever became a world champion, declared that I will be the greatest of all time. And then here, he didn't say will be. Let me correct myself. He said, I am the greatest of all time. So he put it in the present moment. I am the greatest of all time. Then he got in the ring, beat Sonny Liston, became the heavyweight champion of the world, and went on to beat a number of other boxers, and then showed us why he was the greatest, not just in the ring, but also outside the ring. We'll talk about that more.
Can't afford to buy the expensive theater seats. And the fight goes like this. Ding, Ali comes out to meet Frazier, but Frazier starts to retreat. If Frazier goes back an inch farther, he'll wind up in a ringside seat. Ali swings to the left, Ali swings to the right. Look at the kid carry the fight. Frazier keeps backing, but there's not enough room. It's a matter of time. There Ali lowers the boom. Now Ali lands to the right. What a beautiful swing. And the punchless Frazier clean out of the ring.
Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time, everyone. Again, you're listening to Inspirational Perspective. This is Linal Harris, your host, Chicago's very own life coach, right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. So once again, tonight, the show really is about honoring the life of the late Muhammad Ali. Ali inspired the world, and this is your chance to share how he inspired you. So if you want to share, you can give us a phone call, 773-591-1690. But over the break, I talked to my Periscope audience, and one of the things that came up was Ali's fearlessness. And Muhammad from Maywood, who called in before the break, also shared that as he was closing up, the fearlessness of Muhammad Ali. And I got to tell you that when I think about Muhammad Ali and his willingness to put his life on the line for what he believed, I have to imagine that Muhammad Ali was scared sometimes. If you remember when Muhammad Ali was doing some of this is during the civil rights movement when, black men were being lynched in the South. People went missing in the night. And here it is, Muhammad Ali standing up for what he believes, regardless of what it could cost him. And it ended up costing him his boxing title, his boxing license, and he still stood steadfast in what he believed. And let me tell you real quick before I take these next callers. Let me tell you real quick how easy it would have been for him to compromise. When you think about this, all he had to do was maybe put on a uniform and fly around and go shake hands with other soldiers, and they probably would have been happy with that. But instead of doing that, he stood for what he believed and created a movement against the Vietnam War. And the funny thing is, even now today, we can look back, sit back and say, what were we doing over there? And appreciate the fact that he didn't go and fight. He didn't step outside of what he believed in, but rather stood for what he believed. So what I was saying before I took the call, and I want to say it again just in case any of you joined, is we were talking about Muhammad Ali's fearlessness. And I was saying that I believe there were times when Muhammad Ali was scared. As a matter of fact, when I look at the George Foreman fights, I don't know if you guys ever watched George Foreman fight, like before he fought Muhammad Ali, how he destroyed people before he fought Muhammad Ali. But I thought to myself, how could Muhammad Ali be sane and not be afraid of that man? He was big, he was strong, and he was ferocious. And so, I have to wonder, I imagine that there were times when Muhammad Ali was afraid, like on the inside, right? Where he had to, in the dark corners of his room at night, had to wrestle with his fear. But what I find inspiring is how he came out of it. How somehow he found inspiration for himself. He found motivation for himself. And I imagine that in the fear, that's where he found his courage. And instead of saying, I'm going to let the fear stop me, he would say, I may be afraid, but I'm going to get into the ring. I will still get into the ring. And I just think about for us, the things that we're afraid of, the things that we're scared of. How much more should we take that as an example and say, I may be afraid, but I am going to get into the ring. I may be afraid, but I will pursue this goal. I may be afraid, but I will go after this dream. All right, I got another phone caller. T out of Alabama.
Yes, good evening.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine now. Great program, man. Just wanted to just make a quick comment in regards to Ali, man. I think about that generation, and the generation before that, man. The struggles and the courage that generation had to do the things they did when the enemy was obvious back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very obvious.
We had an obvious enemy, and that enemy wasn't trying to hide. And the courage that it took for people like Ali and the Martin Luther Kings and the Harriet Tubmans and the people, even before, and to go through the things they went through, and the struggles, man. I mean, that's the greatest group of people. Those struggles are no more for us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're constantly losing that part of our history, where it's going to be eventually no more, man. I look at my mother. She's 82 years old. She was part of the civil rights movement. She marched with Martin Luther King over the bridge and was part of Bloody Sunday and all that.
Right.
And I thank God, man, for that history. I thank God for that struggle we had. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what makes us different from anybody else. Is that struggle and what our people went through, and but it's lost today for some reason.
Well, let me encourage you, man. Let me encourage you because I don't believe it's lost. I would say that there's an opportunity for many of us to be reminded. By the way, if you can turn down your radio. But there's an opportunity for many of us to be reminded. But I'll tell you that one of the things that I've really been doing as of late is really digging into our history, like really trying to understand what is it, what did we come from? What were the challenges and how are those challenges still present in what we're facing today? How did the things that we went through back then, our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, how are those things impacting us today? And how, as me as a person, as an individual, how am I taking advantage of the opportunities that they afford?
And that's the issue. That's the problem today, man. So many of us we're not taking advantage of the opportunities. I mean, those struggles are gone. You know what I'm saying? The struggles we have right now with us, within.
Right. Within.
I mean,
Absolutely.
No white person can say, hey, you can't come in this restaurant. You can't go in this bathroom, or this and that. You can't go to this school. Right? Ain't no more days of blocking the, doors of a university and saying, no, you ain't coming in here because of the color of your skin.
Right.
We don't, those struggles, those people made those sacrifices for us. Those struggles are gone. In this generation now, the struggles that we have are from each other. We don't love each other anymore, and so forth. So I mean, that love, that past, man, we, like I said, we will never get that back. I don't know what it's going to take to have that, unity. Because, like I said,
I'm gonna tell you, I believe it's us speaking it. I mean, we opened up we opened the show talking about Muhammad Ali's words, and then I was sharing right after the break how Muhammad Ali, before he ever got in the ring with Sonny Liston, said, "I am the greatest of all time." And if words have power, I think one of the things that we can take away from what we learned from Muhammad Ali is that we need to start speaking life into our people. We need to start speaking life to each other. We need to start speaking possibility and hope.
There you go.
And saying that we love each other, that we have unity, that we will do great things, that there is a time that we will come together and that you will understand the reason why the black man has been under the thumb of white supremacy because of how great we will be. So I think that's how we have to start talking.
Yeah, that's it. We got to get out of this victim, I can't, or they are better than you, this mentality that we Southern engraved in our kids' mindset, man.
But let me tell you
So
this.
I think,
But let me tell you this. One of the things that we have to do, and I hope everybody's listening real good, is you don't start talking like that, and you don't start believing these type of things unless you have the proper inputs. And I'm telling you that the mainstream media, this foolishness that we watch on television on a regular basis, is basically inputting the opposite of what I just said into our brains. And so until we can intentionally unplug and be very thoughtful about our inputs, some of that won't happen. And so we have to make the sacrifice. You know, we have to make a sacrifice and say, man, what's up with my thinking? How can I think differently? How do you think differently? You give yourself different inputs. So
I appreciate your time, bro.
All right. Thanks so much, T.
Yes, sir.
All right. Great call. Okay. Well, hey, thank you all for your comments. I mean, I'm telling you, you know, you all definitely have helped make the show and have really helped make this opportunity to honor Ali exactly what I wanted it to be. So we still got some phone calls coming in. We still have some time. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break. I'll be able to take a few more phone calls, and then after that, I'll wrap it up with my thoughts on the lessons that I learned from the life of Muhammad Ali.
I'm the greatest thing that ever lived. I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset son enlistment, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, can't nobody be against me. I shook up the world. I know God. I know the real God.
Cassius, wait a minute, Cassius. Let me ask you this now. You told me when you visited in Los Angeles you could do it in 8. Well, you thought Sonny and figured Sonny was great. How come you did it in 6 or 7? You did it in 7.
I had him going in 8. I was getting ready to take him in the 8th, as you can see. But the man stopped it just to keep from making me look so great.
I see. Now, give us that poetry on number 7.
He wanted to go to heaven, so I took him in 7.
You took him in 7.
I am the king of the world.
Hold it.
I'm pretty.
Hold it. You're not that pretty.
I'm a bad man.
Wait.
I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
Joe,
I shook up the world.
Wait a minute, Cash. Wait a minute.
You must listen to me.
Now, listen.
I am the devil.
All right, hold it. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you
I
this.
can't be beat.
Joe, wait, hold it. Yeah, throw in the chair, but I don't think so. All right, tell us this. All right, Cash. Thank you. Thank you, Cassius Clay, the heavyweight champion. Let's get our champion, Joe Lewis, over here as the camera follows Cassius Clay. Joe.
All right. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host, Linal Harris, Chicago's very own life coach. And tonight, we've been giving honor to the late Muhammad Ali. Ali inspired the world, and this is our chance to share how he inspired us. And to end the night, I have an additional caller, BJ. BJ, you're on the air. How are you?
I'm terrific. Listen, you are the greatest. You really are fantastic. And I'm listening to you ever since you've been on the radio. And you have a tremendous spirit. I believe you have, as I used to tell one of the former WVON talk show hosts, you have talent alone from God. Sir Ali have that. And it was tremendous. It was created by the Creator with a tremendous ability physically and mentally and everything. And it was mentored by Honorable Minister Minister Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad. And it's just tremendous what he did. And you know what? He learned that he's got his talent and his intellect alone from God. He learned how to pray for himself. That's something that Prince did not know how to do. I really believe he's still alive. He learned to pray for himself. Ultimately, even though this country did him wrong, he forgave them and ended up doing really even super great at that. There's a spirit of confusion in the world. People got to realize it's not about what denomination you are. It's not about how much education you have, but it's divine revelation, Brother Harris, that you have so you can be risen up and all of us can overcome. We got to just pray to God for ourselves and all of us can be good. Ultimately, he forgave the people that did him wrong, and that's tremendous. The respect people, no matter what their race, creed, color, sexual orientation, and all that, and the Creator will make peace on earth. Otherwise, America is something in itself, the seed of its own destruction. It's not about what religion you are or color you are. Ultimately, it's when you put the battle between good and evil. I'm leaving with that.
All right. Thanks so much, BJ. I appreciate it. And, thanks so much for the acknowledgement, man. That means a lot. Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. All right. Well, that was a great way to wrap up the show. And I appreciate that acknowledgement. I completely accept it, too. I could use it after some of the stuff I saw on Periscope. But, all right, so here, hey, I want to end with this. Ali believed to his very core that he was the greatest boxer of all time. And he believed this so deeply that it seeped into the heads and minds of everyone around him. Ali believed this so deeply, most of us still believe that he is the greatest boxer of all time. In 1967, Muhammad Ali was scheduled for induction into the Army. He refused induction based on his religious beliefs concerning the war and its relationship to civil rights for African Americans in the United States. And this time, what Ali believed could potentially separate him from everything he loved dearly. His belief could take his title, his license to fight, and even separate him from his family if he went to prison. And shortly after he opposed the draft in the war in Vietnam, Ali's championship title status was removed and his boxing license was suspended. Yet, he still believed that he would not go to jail and that he would be the boxing champ again someday. Again, he believed this. 7 years later, that day came, and Ali had the opportunity to fight for his championship against one of the fiercest opponents that he had ever met in the ring. And once again, the odds were stacked against him. But he believed in himself. Ali believed that he could defeat George Foreman, even when those closest to him thought he could not. He believed in himself. Ali's victory over Foreman was monumental, and in my opinion, proves that the power of belief and self-confidence are the cornerstones of all success. Have a good evening, everyone. This is Linal Harris. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. And again, thanks to the late, great Muhammad Ali for the lessons. Control your mind. Control your mind.